My name's Bond. James Bond.
George Lazenby only played James Bond once, but he left an undeniable impact on me growing up. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of my favourite James Bond films. It's one that I always watched growing up, and I never struggled to adjust to George Lazenby. I accepted him as James Bond, and ever since I've gotten older, rewatching that film, which many view as one of the greatest James Bond films, there is this odd response to Lazenby where people say, yeah, the film's really good, but Lazenby wasn't. Yes, it has some of the best stuff in the franchise, but Lazenby is what brings it down. And I've never agreed with that. I think George Lazenby is a great James Bond in a great James Bond movie. I really wish he'd gone on to do more. Obviously, George faced a real uphill battle when he took on the role. After the departure of Sean Connery, who had made an incredible impact as James Bond, the producers were looking to revamp the franchise and find someone who could resonate as well as Connery. That was never going to happen. Like, there are James Bonds today who don't resonate as well as Sean Connery. So the fact that George Lazenby even did anything at all, I think we should take a hat off to him.
This never happened to the other fella.
I think George Lazenby was fresh as James Bond. He brought a new take to the character, one that was more vulnerable and human. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service, James Bond actually falls in love, properly, and gets married, properly. He's there the next day for this woman. And I can't envision Sean Connery's Bond doing that. I don't think it would have worked to see Sean Connery's Bond get married. I would have just been constantly going, yeah, come on James, do you really mean it? You're saying yes now, but what about in 2 weeks' time? But with George Lazenby, you actually believed it. You believed that James Bond fell in love with Tracy, played by Diana Rigg. Unlike Sean Connery, George Lazenby showed emotions. He was fallible and, dare I say, relatable. This was a real departure from the suave, stoic Bond of Sean Connery's era, which is why I find it quite a laugh when people say James Bond has gone woke. I'm like, guys, in the 60s, George Lazenby was being vulnerable and not the manly man 100% all the time. This was happening back in the 60s. You know, lots of people who are saying James Bond is woke now clearly haven't watched James Bond for a while. I think the marketing campaign for On Her Majesty's Secret Service didn't do Lazenby any favours. The film's poster and trailers and the tagline "far up, far out, far more" didn't exactly scream James Bond to audiences. And as a result, the film underperformed at the box office and Lazenby's tenure was cut short. Lazenby was actually advised by his agent that James Bond and spy films and this kind of action genre would be obsolete very soon, and he was kind of convinced to quit the role. And Lazenby has gone on to say that he regrets doing that, but the fact that he did kind of makes him a special Bond who never really fulfilled his potential. Hot take, Diamonds Are Forever would have been improved if George Lazenby was in it, because Sean Connery didn't provide shit in that movie.
You just killed James Bond.
Is that who it was?
I think the ultimate tester is the fact that I saw this as a young kid and I just brought him straight away. I didn't struggle to buy George Lazenby as Bond. Now you could say maybe that's nostalgia, maybe if I watched it today for the first time I wouldn't buy him as much, but if you think about it, that's the time where I shouldn't have brought him. I was a massive James Bond fan as a kid. I loved Sean Connery. And I just literally had no trouble. You know what kids are like? We can dismiss things straight away and say I'm never watching the franchise again because it changed. And a lot of adults do that as well. Today. But I didn't struggle. George Lazenby instantly hooked me. I think the guy has a natural charisma. The love story with Tracy is a shaky start, but they genuinely grow to like each other and love each other. And this is still James Bond because even when it's pretty much established that he's with Tracy, he does cheat before he gets married to her at the end. People forget that. He's not completely disregarded what Connery did, but he's building on it. So George Lazenby performed most of his own stunts, and I honestly feel like he's convincing in the fight scenes. Again, he wasn't an actor, but the fight scenes, he does well. You buy it. He feels tough. He feels like you wouldn't mess with him. He delivers as James Bond in the fight scenes. Of course, we're going to talk about the heart-wrenching finale where James Bond's heart is broken forever. This might be the most pivotal moment in James Bond history, really. But this scene shows Lazenby's range as an actor. It's fantastic. It's so subtle. It's so well done. It feels like it's delivered by someone who understands acting. Look at many actors' first roles. They couldn't do this.
It's all right. It's quite all right, really. She's having a rest. We'll be going on soon. There's no hurry, you see. We have all the time in the world.
And I'm going to dare say it, Sean Connery couldn't have done this. Let me correct that, so I'm not feeling like I'm disrespectful to Sean Connery. He could have done it, but you might not have believed it. And that's maybe a testament to what Sean Connery made you believe about his Bond. That he can't be vulnerable and all that stuff. He can't really love. Lazenby was perfect for this moment, so the change in the actor really worked. So in the end, I think Lazenby's portrayal of Bond was innovative. It was bold. It was deserving of recognition. George Lazenby, maybe the biggest mistake of his life was not carrying on as James Bond, but also in a way, the fact he didn't makes On Her Majesty's Secret Service even more special. This solo one-off statement as James Bond. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me that George Lazenby is one of the most underrated James Bonds, or do you not agree? Have you never liked him? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing if you love analysis and retrospectives for passionate movie geeks, and I'll see you guys next time.